Right now I have Stephen Benson of Badger Maps with us. How are you, Stephen?
I'm fantastic, Gabby. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us. And I definitely want to jump right into it because, as we know, you do a lot and a lot of great things. So, first, just start by telling us about yourself and what is your companies do.
Sure. So a little background on me. I guess I grew up in Chicago. I moved out to California, went to school out here. And then I worked at IBM and then HP and then Google. And then about 10 years ago, I started a software company called Badger Maps. And what I do at Badger is we built a piece of software to help field salespeople. So we connect with their CRM system or wherever their customer data is, and then we put it in a mapping environment for them so that they're able to organize their day, figure out
Mm.
who to focus on, build a schedule, that sort of thing.
Okay, and then how did you get into that? What was it that specifically called you to have that sort of focus when it comes to sales and obviously kind of merging tech as well?
Yeah, so I was just, I was interested in technology, which is why after I got my MBA, I went to IBM to work in technology, and then I kind of focused into software over time. My role at those companies was field sales, so I was going out and meeting with customers face to face, and so I was kind of exposed to a lot of the challenges and problems that field
Mm.
salespeople have. So when I was at Google, I was working with Android a lot, and I was working with the Google Maps API a lot. So I was kind of involved in mobile and in mapping, and I could kind of
Mm.
see, well, we have all these tools that if fused together correctly, and at the time the internet wasn't quite fast enough on mobile, but I was like, if this is speeding up, and Google used to have all these posters around like, if when the mobile internet's 100 times faster, what will we be able to do? And I was like, well,
Right.
here's one thing we could do. We could solve these
Right.
problems that field salespeople have. So that's kind of what caused me to start the company, is that I knew about the problems that field
Mhm.
salespeople had, and I kind of knew about the things that you would need to fix those problems.
Okay, so based on that, I'm definitely curious as far as you said, mobile internet is now different. Could you explain us to a little bit about the evolution for your company based on, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and into now, what you've been able to do?
Sure. Yeah. Well, when we started out, we really can only do the basics of what we do today, right? So we
Mhm.
could we could take a salesperson's territory and put it on a map for them, so they could visualize where are my customers, and we could colorize the pins on the map based on whatever they wanted, company,
Mhm.
customer type, or how much money they're spending with you, or whatever they wanted. And that's kind of and we could only really do that in the browser, so on a computer, or we could do it on an iPad. The
Mhm.
iPhone and the Androids weren't fast enough yet.
Mm.
They didn't have the horsepower, so it wasn't just the internet that was limiting us, it was also the
The cell
devices.
phones.
The actual
Mhm.
physical hardware wasn't strong enough. But I think it was the iPad 2, when that came out, we could run things and on that, and that was coming out, that it was what was out right when I started the company, which is around beginning of 2012.
Mhm.
And so then kind of from there, we just kept building more solutions, and the devices got faster, and so the whole routing thing came a little later. Giving the salespeople the ability to really plan out their day, optimize their route, figure out, okay, well, if I was here at 10 o'clock, when
Mhm.
would I be able, and this meeting's going to take this long, how long will it travel, then I'll be here at noon, will I be able to make this 2 o'clock over here, that sort of thing. So kind of
Mhm.
helping them figure out and design their day and figure out who to focus on. That all came later.
Okay, and I feel like that's amazing. So I know I'm a very visual person. It helps me to see it. Is that kind of the benefits you see for people to see, like you said, meeting here? Can I go here and just kind of see it more mapped out versus like in your head, sticky notes in your head?
Exactly. Well, we're usually, if you didn't have this, well, so the way it was done before we had this was we had a spreadsheet or a CRM system, and it was just kind of a list of all of our customers, right? So here, in a spreadsheet, you can see their attributes in different columns. You can see their name in different columns. Where are they in different columns? What city are they in? So you can sort by things like what city are they in. But that it's really, it was always a big challenge for field salespeople to kind of figure out, okay, well, if I'm driving 40 miles out to this suburb, who's kind of on the way that's important that I want to
Mhm.
see right now? Who should I try to set appointments with, or who should I swing by? and okay, how should I come home? Who could I hit on the way home? Because
Mhm.
usually they need to go see one or two people, so they have kind of the skeleton of their day laid
Okay.
out. But
Hmm.
then figuring out how to fill out that day in the most efficient way and in the most impactful way from a sales perspective is really the challenge that involves a lot of spreadsheeting and Google
Hmm.
mapping and kind of trying to piece things together. But I mean, effectively, what we did was fuse that Google map, that spreadsheet or CRM, wherever their data lives, and and then also like a calendaring tool and a routing optimization tool. So all kind of fused into one environment.
Okay. Sounds like a lot in one. It sounds like an amazing app then. And so we
It's
just
useful.
talked.
It's very useful to to a very small subset of people, the outside sales, field sales people of the world.
And I was gonna say, but it sounds like it's a pretty big niche anyway, so it seems like it works out anyways.
It does work out. Yeah.
I'm glad. And so we talked about evolution, and I want to go back to that. Obviously, we're all in a time that we're evolving right now. Can you kind of talk about how it has been managing sales during our current circumstances?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, I guess there's a couple challenges to
Mhm.
managing sales right now, right? So first of all, uh, everyone's remote, which is extremely challenging, and there are a bunch of challenges with being a leader of a remote team.
Right.
And then two, depending on your industry, the economy being in recession, and specifically the recession that we're being caused by people not being able to go outside is extremely impactful for some industries, right? If you sell beer to bars, the bars
Hmm.
are closed, and so you're just
Right.
not selling any beer, right? So I guess there are two major challenges, and there's and they both have different reasons they're especially difficult, right? Like, so the
Mhm.
being remote, training and coaching is extremely difficult. Leadership in general, there are a lot of challenges around communication. What KPIs should you focus on with a team
Right.
when it's when the team is remote as opposed to when everyone's in one place? You know, how the changes to your customers and with the relationships that occur.
Hmm.
These are all big challenges that you face when you're leading a remote team.
Right. And so for any of our listeners who are maybe feeling just very scrambled and stressed and still trying to figure out how they can, continue to get the ball rolling, what are maybe some tips for anyone who just needs some help? Just a few tips maybe of how you've managed the sales during these times.
Well, I think communication
Hmm.
is probably one of the most important things in times like that, like these. Like, people's imaginations can get the best of them, particularly within large groups, right? And there's a lot of there's always gossip of impending doom, and it's powerful and travels quickly. I think you need to give a team, your action plan, and help put their fears to rest and let them focus on selling if you're a leader of sales teams. um, I think that the way to do that is communicate clearly, communicate truthfully,
Hmm.
show them where things are at, in a transparent way so that they can then plan accordingly. And that way a team's productivity is affected less. And frankly, if you don't communicate clearly and transparently and honestly, then people spend all their time worrying about the
Right.
worst. So
Hmm.
I think giving as a leader, you want to give your team, and then this is true for sales or for anything. I think you want to
Hmm.
give people your immediate plan, your immediate term plan, the midterm plan, and the long term plan, and then talk about how different external factors may change those plans. If it's a small recession, we'll do
Hmm.
this, and if it's prolonged, and what's occurred, if what's occurred triggers us to stay in a deeper recession for longer, here's how we'll respond. And because people need to feel like there's a steady hand on the
Right.
wheel, and there usually is, right? I think that there are a lot of great leaders who just don't communicate it well enough that people so that the people on the team feel like they really know what's going on.
Right.
Daily
And
huddles can be really great for that.
okay.
Regularly communicating with people just a little bit every time. Just giving like a major 1 hour presentation once a month probably isn't enough. It's better to, you want to do that, but you also want to have that regular communication, daily
Conversations.
huddles,
Hmm.
about what's going on, and about what KPIs things you're tracking, and how people are tracking, and how people are doing against those KPIs, how the team is doing against the KPIs.
Hmm. And so, for any listeners who, or any leaders who are maybe struggling to find a long-term plan, like I said, because so much is uncertain, should they voice that as well? Should they talk to their employees to try to work together? How would someone do that for them who are struggling to really make something concrete? Because obviously they might feel, I don't want to say something and I don't actually know if this can even happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important first to have a long-term plan and to,
Mm-hmm.
as a leader of an organization, knowing the direction the ship is going and kind of having different plans for the different types of weather you may encounter as a part
Hmm.
of your job. Um, and then so that and for some organizations, things are grim, right? I mean, if you're like I use the selling beer to bars
Right.
analogy, I mean, the plan has to be, well, we're going to stop making beer and we're going to stop
First.
selling it.
Mm-hmm.
Or at the same time, sometimes there's a way to pivot things into
Mm-hmm.
into kind of the new world that you're in, right? So maybe you can keep making beer, and you, instead of doing deliveries to bars, you're doing deliveries to
Houses,
houses or apartment buildings. You can
parties.
have
Mm-hmm.
relationships with an apartment building to say, hey, let all your residents know that we will deliver this product, and for this price, and so you can move your inventory even in these times, if you're able to kind of pivot into the way the new world works right now.
Mm, that's perfect. That's great advice. And so to switch it now, talking about Badger Maps, please tell us about your podcast, Outside Sales Talk.
Yeah, so this has been a fun project I've had for several years now. Outside Sales Talk is a podcast specifically for field salespeople, and discussing the skills and challenges they face. The general, the way I set it up is I bring on kind of the top sales thought leaders and people who have written great books about sales, that sort of thing, and I'll have them. We'll discuss kind of their area of expertise
Mm-hmm.
through the lens of, hey, all these people that are listening are in field sales, outside sales. So you kind of give your perspectives, but through that lens, and because it really is a very different job to sell as a face to face, kind of traveling around in the field, than it is to sell in a retail environment or over the
Right.
phone or over the internet. And so getting these top sales thought leaders' perspectives on that specific type of sales role is really helpful for field
Mm-hmm.
salespeople, which is why I think the podcast has taken off the way it has.
Okay. And anyone interested in listening, or is it available on all platforms, or where are the specific platforms they can go to listen in?
Yeah, it's pretty much available anywhere you'd listen to podcasts. It's
Okay.
free. I mean, it's on iTunes or Spotify or wherever, well, all the major platforms. We use some service that kind of puts it everywhere automatically.
Perfect. And so for any of our listeners too who are just interested in learning more about you or Badger Maps, where should they go for that information as well?
Best place to learn about Badger and what we do, how we help field salespeople, is to go to just the website, badgermapping.com. It's easy to find, Google it. Best way to find me is probably LinkedIn. Just Google, or go on LinkedIn and search Steve Benson Badger, because there's lots of Steve Bensons out there. It's not an original name.
Perfect. Well, Stephen Benson, thank you so much for your time and sharing all of that. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been great to chat.
Absolutely.